Would you say, doctor, you are capable of forming your own opinion on that scan? Yes, sir. And it differs from that of the radiologist at the hospital, is that correct? Right. Counsel made some statement that a parent company of a medical facility you worked out of was under some type of investigation? Yes, he did. Did you ever find out how that investigation ended? Well, I know what everybody else knows from reading the newspapers, which I could relate, and that is the company closed, sold their assets before the investigation was completed, as far as I'm aware. And was your particular facility ever investigated? No, sir. Did you give any testimony? Excuse me? Did you have to give testimony? No, I never gave any testimony. Did anybody ever question you in that case? No. And I'm sure you've heard that before when you come to testify. Defense counsel, objection. The court sustained. You mentioned that you were asked questions about Mr. Samanga? Yes. That you last spoke with him 10 years ago? Yes. And in response to one of counsel's questions, he asked you if you ever heard of Mr. Samanga, and I believe your response was, yes, all the time. In what context are you referring to? Defendant's counsel, objection. Leading form of question. Did you hear about him? The court sustained. Go ahead. You've been asked questions about Mr. Samanga before, is that correct? Yes, I understand the question now. How often have you been asked questions about Mr. Samanga? Quite frequently. When I testify, that testimony is brought up. That's why I'm so familiar with those words. Every defendant does that to you? Defendant's counsel, objection. Not everyone, but it's frequent. The court sustained. Doctor, your fees or the sums of money that you mentioned in your report, how do you determine that? Let's say that a home health aide earns between $12 and $15 an hour. Defendant's counsel, objection. The court overruled. Defendant's counsel, I did not go into that on cross, Your Honor. The court, you did. Yes, sir. I think you did. Generically, if not individually and specifically. Okay. That cost is determined by doing a survey of Medicare certified home health care agencies and asking how much do you charge for a home health aide, and that's where we get the information from. $12 to $15 an hour? Right. Would you consider that going for the home health aide who's working for these individuals, helping them out, $12 to $15 an hour? I do not, no. Doctor, what about the neurological visit? How do you determine it's $130 a visit? Well, obviously, I'm a physician, and this is private practice for any specialist. You know, a private fee for that through follow-up examination. Would you consider $130 for a visit to monitor a condition such as hydrocephalus to be gouging? No, sir. What about $30 for a flu shot? Is that gouging? No, sir. Is that the prevailing rate for a flu shot? Yes, sir. Would a grab bar for the shower that costs $127.50, depreciated over 5 years, be gouging? No, sir. With regards to physical therapists and speech therapists, I believe you had $100 an hour for those types. That is a reasonable price in this community for therapy. And that's based on experience and research? Yes. Would you consider that? Well, doctor, do you believe that physical therapists or occupational therapists would consider that rate gouging? No. Well, doctor, would it be fair to say that there are other costs that you did not put in your life plan, such as for Mort to have an MRI would require him to be sedated, would it not? Defendant's counsel, objection. The court sustained. Doctor, you were asked questions about hospitalizations that Mort had undergone. I believe one is listed, pneumonia, in your report. But one of the other admissions, I want you to assume according that there has been testimony in this case when Matthew had an MRI in November of 1997. He had to be hospitalized because it was done under a general anesthetic. Did you include any of those costs in your plan? Defendant's counsel, objection. The court overruled. I did not. Would those be costs, additional costs, that would be reasonably anticipated for a child, such as Matthew, to have an MRI? Yes, it would actually. So would you consider it gouging if you are not even putting in every potential? Defendant's counsel, objection. The court sustained. Plaintiff's counsel, I have nothing else, Your Honor. The court, very well. Okay. $170.